Flying maggots, a hanging priest, 4,000-year-old Book of Enoch, and a truly disturbing blow-up doll scene. Welcome to the demented mind of Lucio Fulci, the Italian filmmaker known as the Godfather of Gore. Today we will travel into the obscene and review his 1980 cult classic, City of the Living Dead. With a runtime of 1 hour and 33 minutes and an MA rating, this movie can be streamed for free on Tubi, if you can stomach it. This movie opens on a tombstone from a cemetery in Dunwich. Shortly thereafter, we see the local priest, Father Thomas, hanging from a tree. As this scene plays out in our heads, the movie cuts to a seance in New York City. Being performed by medium Teresa, Mary, who is taking part, begins to have visions of Dunwich, Father Thomas, and the coming horrors of the living dead. She completely loses her shit and begins convulsing on the floor. In a strange twist, she is pronounced dead, and we're only 10 minutes into this movie. A detective shows up and immediately wants to know what kind of drugs they are on.
We'll help you. What were you on? Coke? Grass? Where's the stash? Down the toilet?
I don't deserve any help.
The hits keep on coming as we watch Bob enter a house where a blow-up doll makes a creepy-ass appearance before we cut to a maggot-infested corpse. At the local bar, strange happenings start to take place. The mirror is shattered and the wall in the bar is cracked right down the middle. The barflies note that things have been getting strange since the death of Father Thomas. It is also inferred that Dunwich has something to do with the Salem witches. It is built on the site where they were burned and or buried. Now we see Mary being buried. Journalist Peter is there to try and find out what is going on. The gravediggers on site must strictly enforce the 5 o'clock somewhere rule because Mary's coffin is lowered in the ground and only half buried before they decide to call it a day. What dedication! Surprisingly, Mary awakes to a truly awful fate as she realizes she is buried alive. She begins to scream and tear her nails off trying to claw her way out of the coffin. Thankfully, Peter finally hears her screams and runs to her gravesite. Strangely, he feels the best course of action is to pick up a pickaxe and smash it into the coffin directly where her head would be, almost impaling her with the tool. Narrowly avoiding this outcome, Mary is rescued by the journalist. Next, the medium Teresa tells of the city of the living dead. When Father Thomas hung himself, he opened the gates to hell in Dunwich, and they need to be closed by All Saints' Day, which is 2 days away, or the dead will inherit the earth. Okay, next in the movie we meet a psychiatrist named Jerry who is treating a patient named Sandra. We are also introduced to his 19-year-old assistant and girlfriend named Emily. She leaves the office to visit Bob, a down-on-his-luck vagabond with a not-so-stellar reputation in the small town. Unfortunately, she runs into Father Thomas, who now has become a zombie. He apparently kills her by feeding her a worm sandwich. Yeah, for real. A handful of worms and gore, and she's a goner. In the next gorific scene, a young couple are making out in their car when that pesky priest shows up again. After the girl notices him and becomes freaked out, they try to leave, but the car won't start. In one of the best scenes, the girl's eyes begin to bleed. Then, to step up the gore factor, her intestines begin to come out of her mouth. This scene is pretty gruesome and has lived rent-free in my mind since watching it. And to top it off, the boyfriend has his brain ripped out through his scalp. Nice touch. Very nice. The cops show up to Emily's crime scene and deduce that the healthy 19-year-old must have died from a cardiac arrest. Okay, that theory seems to check out, I guess. Soon we learn that 5 people in the small town of Dunwich have gone missing in the last 48 hours. Bob becomes the scapegoat, blaming him for the disappearances. Next, we are at the local funeral home. A mortician is tending to Emily's body. Another victim, Mrs. Holden, is also there. As the mortician rifles through the belongings of the dead, the greedy mortician meets a zombie and gets his. Emily, now turned into a zombie, goes home and stands outside the window. Only her little brother John sees her, and this traumatizes him. Next, Jerry receives a panic call from his neurotic patient Sandra. As he heads over to her place, he finds her in a state of shock. The body of the deceased Mrs. Holden is lying on her kitchen floor. Next is a cool scene of broken glass sticking out of a wall that begins to bleed. Then, in one of the most infamous scenes of the movie, Bob finds himself in the wrong house. As he sits with the daughter in a parked car, Daddy shows up and is not too happy about this discovery. So, like what any normal upset father would do, he holds him down and uses a drill to scramble his brains. Yup, that's what happens. Right after this scene, we get the flying maggot snowstorm scene. I've never used that sentence in my life before, so thank you for that, City of the Living Dead. Thank you. Emily shows up again, killing her parents and thoroughly scaring the shit out of John. Next, she rips out Sandra's brain. Here, we also notice that these zombies just kind of appear when they want, materializing out of thin air. The remaining survivors need to find Father Thomas's grave so they can discover the City of the Living Dead, close the gates to hell, and end this nightmare. Next, zombies attack the bar. The team find the Thomas family tomb. The bar patrons are left dead on the floor. The team head down into the crypt. Peter is next to lose his life as the zombified Sandra rips out his brain. Mary and Jerry finally find the city that they have been searching for. As we gaze upon the gates of hell, zombies begin to rise. Father Thomas appears. He is stabbed in the guts with a wooden crucifix and bursts into flame. Once he is ablaze, all the other zombies begin to catch fire and burn as well. The movie ends with John running as Mary lets out a blood-curdling scream. Okay, zombie fans, this was my first foray into the works of Lucio Fulci, and I was not disappointed. As older zombie movies go, I think I prefer Romero, but this movie has its own charm and the gore factor is ramped up for sure. It's a bit campy and might not be everyone's cup of tea. But if you're into 80s B movies, this will be right up your alley. I'm on the fence a little about the ranking for this one, but I'll give City of the Living Dead 2 out of 5 brains. Tell me what you think. Are you a fan of this movie? A fan of Lucio Fulci? Should we review more of his work? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Think about hitting that subscribe button and check out my other content.
I like to put stuff online.